Well, good morning to all of you that have braved the cold and the snow and everything else to be here this morning. We have a lot of our community traveling, and I'm not Ann Hudgens. I guess you recognize that. Ann and Robert have been exposed to COVID along with a couple of other members of our community, so we trust that there'll be some healing and wellness in their household coming forth. So I'd like to share with you some of the events, some of the announcements. We got some of our community members that also want to share. So let's do that, and then we'll get on with our service. Reverend Sharon is the one that's speaking today. She's going to have a message for you on world's religions. And then we have Ballard giving the reading. And, of course, we have our own Elise Wonder with the music today. So we have a good day coming forth. So here's my announcements, a whole sheet of them. So I'm going to work through them here. So first of all, if you're sitting in your pajamas, I don't think there's anyone here in their pajamas, but if you're sitting in your pajamas at home, welcome to Unity of Fort Collins. We're glad to have you on our live streaming. On a typical Sunday, sometimes we have as many live streamers as we have people in person, so we appreciate all those that are watching us. So let's get started with our visitors. I know there are several visitors here because I know that you have a large sheet of paper in your hand. That's the signal that you walked in the door and received our visitors bulletin. And so I wonder if there's anybody here that did not get one of those. Are you a visitor with us? We'd like our welcoming team to be able to give you one. Doesn't look like there's any more. Okay. Leanne Gable, would you like to come forward and got a couple of announcements for us?
Okay, I'm here for two announcements. Next Sunday after the service, we're going to have our craft fair, bake sale, and spiritual book sale. And the book sale will be back in the bookstore and over here in the friendship room. I still think of it as the big room. We'll have crafts and baked goods and homemade goodies that people sign up to donate. So I'm going to pass this clipboard. You can sign up to bring things. And on page 2, you can sign up to help. And it's all pretty clearly lined out. And then I'll send an email out to folks this week and remind them. So I'll pass this clipboard and come back up for my other big announcement. If I had a hat, I'd put on a different one. I'm here to talk about our finances. I'm a member of the finance team here at Unity, and we have some oversight as to where we are with finances and fundraising. So I wanted to give you an update. This slide illustrates, down at the bottom, it shows some of the smaller fundraising that we've been doing. We did a yard sale, we had the marketplace, we had the pancake breakfast, we had the fall concert, and next week's craft fair will be part of that as well. So we've raised over $10,000 there, just in those events. And what that's helped us do is basically balance our books. It means by the end of the year, we will have brought in enough in donations to cover our expenses. And for a lot of nonprofits, that's not very typical. Yeah, it's a big deal. And we appreciate everything that everybody does, all the time, all the energy, all the money that gets donated here. So the second part of this is we're looking at year-end giving. Typically, in the past, we've done what we call matching. It's not true matching, but we've already got $9,000 given from various people in our community toward our year-end giving. It is tax deductible for people who are concerned about that or need to know about that. And what we're trying to do is at least double that. So if you are thinking about doing a year-end gift to Unity, it's easy. You can do it online in the office, write a check, and just put year-end giving on there. And I'm sure we'll end up in a great place. Thank you all.
Next speaker, Lil. Okay.
Speaker, ooh. So now I have some place to set it down. Well, the first thing I want to tell you about is coming up this Friday. It's movie night, and the movie is going to be, let's see what it says here. It's on the next page. Have you found it yet? Dawnland. And it's something that Diana Swigert has letting us borrow, and it is about the indigenous people up in Maine. So it's a National Geographic. It's supposed to be really good. The next thing is on December 8th, we are going to be Christmas caroling at Red Tail Ponds. We've Christmas caroled there many times, and you don't have to be a part of the choir in order to do that. But if you're a choir member, that's great. And then afterwards, we're going to have some Christmas cheer at Barbara and Jim's. And we'll give you sign up, and then we'll call and give you the details. And so what we do is we usually take some cookies and things like that to Red Tail Ponds, and we take some cookies and things to Barbara and Jim's. So it's really fun. And the people at Red Tail Ponds are people that have been previously homeless, and they have now a little apartment there where they can live, and we sing to them, and we meet some of the same people every year, and then new ones too. And they sing to us too, so it's fun. Okay, I'll pass this around.
Okay. Oh. Don't take the microphone. And hopefully it won't snow on us like it did this past week, right? Anisha, go on up.
Good morning. Wanted to tell you about winter solstice celebration, Sacred Circle. John and I are going to facilitate on the 21st of December. It's a Thursday night, 6:30 in the Roomy Room. We're going to do guided meditation, reflection, song and prayer, have a circle of light, followed by apple cider and cookies and visiting, and hope you'll join us. And there is a sign-up sheet in the foyer.
Wow, we got a lot of things going, don't we? Going to beat a path to Unity of Fort Collins quite successfully this year. Well, let's see what else is going on here. I have a list of things. First of all, the drive for food is going well. Our outreach team has been collecting food over here, and they've decided to extend that one more week. So if you've forgotten about bringing food for the food closet or the food bank, next week, one more week. Let's see, we're going to have, on Thursday, November 30th, we're making greeting cards here at the Holiday Marketplace, 9:30 to 11:30. Please bring some craft supplies. Movie night, we've talked about that. Christmas caroling, we talked about that. Let's see, there'll be a Christmas Eve service here. Christmas Eve is on a Sunday this year, so instead of having a 10 o'clock service, we're moving that to 4 o'clock with a candlelight service at 4 o'clock. So don't come down here at 10 o'clock in the morning. You won't find many people around. And Ann writes that she'd like to recruit some more of you as guest speakers. It's not hard. It's about 15, 20 minutes. You share your spiritual journey. Not hard at all. So let us know. Do you want to come up, Sharon?
There will be a clipboard going around for our Christmas Eve program. There's 3 slots already filled by children. So if you're not in the choir and you would like to participate, you read a part. And it's the metaphysical interpretation of the Christmas story that you will be reading. So as the clipboard comes around, do you want to be a star? Do you want to be an angel? Or maybe one of the wise women? So I'd love to have it filled up today.
Aren't there wise men?
No. They left them home. Just ask Leanne. She was a wise woman.
She is a wise woman, I know that.
So glance over it, and I put your email, and please write it clearly, and I will send you the part. And then we will either meet on Zoom or meet right after church on the 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I wonder if there's any other announcements I've forgotten. If, yes. Yeah, announce the extension of the food bank project. Well, if that's it for announcements, let's go ahead and open our service with our together. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. So we have Elise Wonder.
Good morning, everyone. How about that snow? Let's join in together. Weave us together. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together. Weave us together, together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from the other, but we are entwined with one another in one great tapestry. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. We are many instruments playing our own melodies. We are listening to a different thing, but we are all playing in harmony in one great tapestry. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. A moment ago, did not know our unity, only diversity, but the Christ is here in me. In one great family, weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together, together in love. Weave us together, together in love. Now we're reading from Janice.
broke my glasses, so I'm just going to stick them on like this. Anyway, a couple of years ago, Ellen McQueen read and gave a talk based on this book. It's called Love Poems from God, 12 Sacred Voices from the East and the West. And I will say one of the things about her talk was she picked poems, many poems, that made us laugh. I mean, this book is amazing. So that's why I bought it. I went out and bought it because it made the audience or the congregation laugh so much. So I'm going to read just one of those, but that's not my reading for today. But just so you get an idea, this is by Rabia, who is an 8th century Islamic woman. She's one of the she's the most popular of the female Islamic saints. It's called Slicing Potatoes. It helps putting my hands on a pot, on a broom, in a wash pail. I tried painting, but it was easier to fly slicing potatoes. I mean, this is like, it's not the funniest one, but it's good. Okay, let me get back on task now. So Sharon's going to share today One God, Many Paths. So I have another Rabia poem, which is very different. It's called In My Soul. In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church where I kneel. Prayer should bring us to an altar where no walls or names exist. Is there not a region of love where the sovereignty is illumined nothing and where ecstasy gets poured into itself and becomes lost? Where the wing is fully alive but has no mind or body? In my soul, there is a temple, a shrine, a mosque, a church that dissolve into the one God. And by Meister Eckhart. How then can we argue? Having lunch in a field one day, I troubled an ant with a question. I asked of him humbly, "Have you ever been to Paris?" And he replied, "No, but I wouldn't mind going." And then he asked me if I had ever been to a famous ant city. And I regretted that I hadn't and was quick to add, "I wouldn't mind, though." This led to a conclusion. There is life that we do not know of. How aware are we of all consciousness in this universe? What % of space is this earth in the infinite realm? And what % of time is 1 second in eternity? Less than that is our knowledge of God. How then can we ever argue about him?
Reverend Sharon recommended this song. It's a good one. I might have to add it to my repertoire. I gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat. I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams, but all your hopes are sinking. Let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would whisper love so loudly every heart could understand. Love and only love can join the tribes of man. I would give my heart's desire so that you might see. The first step is to realize that it all begins with you and me. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? When we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything to keep believing in this power. Between your heart and mine, love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love can build a bridge. Yeah, sing along. Between your heart and mine, love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Thank you, Elise. That was beautiful. One of my favorite songs. So good morning to all of you. I'm so surprised that we have this many here this morning. Thank you for coming out in the cold. So I am so blessed. Thursday, when we were talking about our blessings, it's like this place and these people were at the top of my list. I'm just so grateful to be here with you. So this morning I'm going to be talking about the world's religions. And it's going to be kind of like a diary. So in the years from 1995 to 2000, I participated in classes and interviews and more classes and more interviews so that I could be accepted to Church Divinity School of the Pacific, an Episcopalian seminary in Berkeley, California. Because of the classes on world religions that I had to take and the history of the Christian church classes, along with my near-death experience in 1980, my beliefs changed. And because of these changes, shortly after finally being accepted into the seminary, I made a very difficult decision to withdraw my application. So I went to Bishop Lamb to talk to him about it, and he said to me, Sharon, you are now in a place where all Christian religions need to be. We need to be in a place where we honor each other, where we honor each path to God. And Sharon, in some ways right now, you're really more Buddhist than you are Episcopalian. And Spirit will lead you to the place where you will be a minister. Thank you for having me. So I believed then, and I still believe today, that a loving God would never have Jesus or anybody else crucified. And I deeply believed then, and still believe, that we all return to Spirit when we leave these human temples that we live in. So I'd like to share with you how Spirit led me to a place that honors all paths to God. In the spring of 2001, I met Jim Yeaw on Match.com. And a little side note to that, immediately I told him I never wanted to get married again. But he was a salesman. So after sharing emails for only a few days, we decided to meet in person. And we met at his church in Sacramento, California, called Spiritual Life Center, an interfaith unity community. I met Jim on the steps of that church, and I was feeling pretty intimidated, meeting a strange man and going to a strange church. And as we entered this large church, looking down the aisle, the very first thing that I saw was a cloth on the podium, just like this one, except that altar cloth or podium cloth had the words above the symbol, many paths, and below the symbol, one God. The words spoke to me. Those 4 words summed up what I believe. There are many paths to one God. So let me tell you the history of this symbol. The oneness symbol was created by an artist called Isaac Stoltzfus. He was a dreamer. He dreamed of peace on earth. Isaac was an engineer in his day job, but his life work was making peace symbols in his garage. As a Jewish American child born in the early 1920s, he lived for several years in what was then Palestine, where he played among friends of different backgrounds and faiths. So fast forward to 1948. The Jewish People's Council met and announced the creation of the State of Israel. Suddenly, his Palestinian childhood friends were now supposed to be considered his enemies. He was forbidden to play with his friends of different faiths. This hurt Isaac deeply. His family left Israel and moved to Southern California. He married, had a daughter, and in the early 1970s, when peace symbols were a big thing, his daughter asked him to design a peace symbol necklace for her. He was inspired to create the oneness symbol as a way to communicate to the world that we are all one. We just take different paths to God. So he started making and selling oneness jewelry. And he spread his dream of oneness everywhere he could. So in 1983, 2 ministerial students discovered a copy of the National History magazine with a page open to an advertisement of the oneness symbol tacked to a wall in the student lounge. The student lounge at Unity School of Christianity in Unity Village, Missouri. Michael and Faith Moran loved the jewelry and bought several pieces for family and friends and showed it to everybody. They ordered so many pieces of the oneness jewelry that Isaac called them and said, "Who are you? And why are you buying so much of my jewelry?" A loving friendship was born between Michael and Faith and Isaac. And after his death in the 1990s, his widow Frida assigned the copyright of the oneness symbol to Michael and Faith and asked them to spread it around the world. So Michael and Faith were ordained Unity ministers and pioneered Spiritual Life Center. The podium cloth that I saw on that first date featured Isaac Solstice oneness symbol. Jim and I were married in that Unity Church. And when we were ordained as Unity ministers, Michael and Faith gave us this podium cloth. So indeed, Spirit did lead me where I could teach spirituality. In this center, I enjoyed Buddhist monks who would come and do our meditation on Sunday. Our children and the children from the Islam Center formed a choir together. This was my very first experience of sharing holidays with my Muslim friends. Oneness weaves together the symbols of ancient Egypt, Hinduism, Judaism, Taoism, Buddhism, and Christianity, along with Islam. In truth, it represents all the paths that all humans choose to follow in it, and as we're intertwined in connectedness. So this first slide is the Egyptian Ankh, or the key to the Nile. It was created about 3000 BCE. And it represents ancient religions. And the ancient religions it was life and regeneration of life. So the second slide is Hinduism. The symbol was created about 25,000 BCE. It represents the process of birth, life, death, and rebirth. It also represents peace, tranquility, and unity. According to many scholars, Hinduism is the world's oldest religion, with roots and customs dating back more than 6,000 years. And then we have the Star of David, representing Judaism. It is in the shape of a hexagon and was called the Shield of David, and it was taken from the seal of King Solomon. The Jewish faith originated as an organized religion in the Middle East during the Bronze Age. It is considered to be one of the oldest monotheistic religions, and monotheistic religions believe only in one God. Our next slide is Buddhism. And we normally see a wheel for Buddhism, but here we have another symbol called triple treasure. It dates back to about 650 BCE, and it represents the three jewels of Buddhism. They represent Buddha, the enlightened teacher, Dharma, the essence of Buddhist teachings, and Sangha, community, love, and compassion. Buddhism is a religious philosophy and was founded in northeastern India between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE. So we have the symbol of Taoism. It is called the yin and the yang. It dates to 551 BCE. It is the interaction of opposites, creating a continuous process of becoming. Historical accounts write that the philosopher Lao Tzu was the founder of the Taoist religion in the 6th century BCE. And then we have the cross from Christianity. And it is a symbol of the Christian faith for followers of the teachings of Jesus. And it was used after the death of Jesus around the year 30 AD. In unity, for us, the cross symbolizes crossing out our error thinking. So now we have Islam. the star and the crescent, and it was about 622 AD. It represents those who embrace Allah and the Prophet Muhammad. And what a lot of people don't know who've never picked up a Quran and yet talk against Islam is Mother Mary, Jesus are in the Quran. The birth story of Jesus is in the Quran. So the basic teaching of religions around the world is they all teach love. Some form of what we know as the 10 Commandments is in all religions. Helping others, being kind, being honest, non-attached, humble, forgiving, are just a few teachings that are taught in all the world's religions. At the core of each religion is the same thing. It's love and those values. But as visualize a wheel, as people moved out from the core teachings, then when you got to the rim of the wheel, that's where our differences is. In how they worship, in how they dress, all of those things. But they weren't part of the love that's the core teaching. So let me just give you one example of the similarity in the teachings of the world religions. And you all know it, it's the golden rule. So in Hinduism, they say, this is the sum of duty. Do not unto others what you would not have them do unto you. In Confucianism, do not do to others what you would not like yourself. Then there will be no resentment against you, either in the family or the state. Buddhism, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would not find hurtful. Judaism, what is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the entire law. Everything else is just commentary. And Christianity, whatever you wish others would do to you, do also to them. For this is the law and the prophets. And Islam. No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that in which he desires for himself. I am touched by the oneness we, the people of the world, share in our principles. The universal principles do not change with the passing of time because they are timeless. And those are the core principles of all the world's religions. Now, values, that's a different thing. Values change as culture changes, and we've seen that in our lifetimes. An example would be that violent gangs may not have the same values as the family on the corner. But the world's religion holds the puzzle, holds the pieces that can lead everybody to a better way of life. In my studies about the principles of the various religions, I have not found any teachings, not one of them, that instruct believers to go out and harm those of other faiths. In all faiths, in all countries, there are those who take religion and distort it to fulfill their own ego or to obtain personal or political power. We've seen that go on in our lifetime, and we see it today. The leaders and followers of all religions need to honor and appreciate all those of other faiths if they are to remain true to their own faith. It is my contention that education and understanding are the keys to fostering respect and honor among the faiths of the world. I do not think we should have one world religion, nor do I think that all religions need to be in agreement in a matter of faith and practice. Humankind is slowly, so very slowly, moving to a place where the power of love will overcome the love of power. So just think for a moment. What would our world be like if everybody could truly honor and respect the sacred space of all people? When I was a hospital chaplain, that was one of the things in our training that was drilled into us. When we walked into a patient's room, we walked into their sacred space, and we didn't take our own faith with us. If there were peace among nations, would we all be able to feel an inner connection to each other? Be able to honor each other's souls as if they were part of us? If we could feel this kind of connection, would everyone have food? Would we live peacefully on the planet Earth and have a world without war? Would everyone have a warm, dry place to sleep? Would we become caretakers and teachers to all of the children in the world? As an interfaith community, I think we try to practice this connection and honor sacred space. But how often do we fail to honor others within the quiet place of our hearts? When someone knows God in a way different from our own, do we become uncomfortable? When we feel uncomfortable, do we think to ourselves, she sure is weird. She sure is weird in the way she talks about God. Do we stop and listen to the man who wants to convince us that he has the only correct theology? I personally find that it is truly hard to be a listening, loving person to all people. I do not always carry respect in my heart for people that are different from me. Oh, I might show respect, but feeling it deep within is where respect is truly of value. I try to be aware of my feelings and connection that I have with the souls of others. Unfortunately, I confess, I've never made it through a day being the spiritual person I long to be. Because of the changes in me, I have opened the doors of my mind to study and opened my heart to honor the many paths to God. The more I have learned, the softer and broader my faith has become. The more I learn, the more I know how little I know. The more I love, the more I am able to love. Today, God is more meaningful and real to me than ever before. Spirituality is the center of my life. My definition of God is not as clear, but my experience of God is more profound. I cannot describe God. It is like the Hindu who describes God as not this, not that, netty netty. God is incomprehensible. It cannot be comprehended. Unattached, for it never attaches itself. Unbound, for it is never bound. I don't know what God is, but I know that God is. I have experienced God, and God has touched me. I feel completely loved by this mystical spirit. Describing God is like describing love. And there are no words that can describe love or that can describe God. Love is a mystery, and God is complete love. So I really know deep in my heart, I am so blessed to have each of you walking on your own spiritual journey in this community. Your faith may be a little different from mine, yet as we honor each other, and I observe that we do, we learn from each other. We care for each other. And in doing so, we are all blessed. So peace, shalom, salam, namaste.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and all that God is everywhere. And every thought's indeed a prayer.
So as we come into our time of silence, I just invite you to go from your thoughts into your heart. And just breathe as you relax right where you are. So this morning I'm going to share the words of a song, One God, written by Barbara Streisand. And take these words into your heart. You might even hear the tune. Millions of stars placed in the skies by one God. Millions of us lift up our eyes to one God. So many children calling to him by many a different name. One Father, loving each the same. Many the ways all of us pray to one God. And many the path winding their way to one God. Brothers and sisters, there are no strangers after his work is done. For your God and my God are one. So many children calling out loud by many a different name. One Father, loving each the same. Many the ways all of us pray to one God. Many the paths winding their way to one God. Brothers and sisters, there were no strangers after the world was done. Our God, yes, your God and my God are one. So we take those words and we take those thoughts and we put them in our hearts. For brothers and sisters, there were no strangers after God was done. We are one, and in that oneness, we are blessed. And so it is.
May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
So we come to the time in our service where we give as we've been blessed, our tithes and offerings. So I request the ushers to come forward, and let's bless our offering as we hold it in our hearts with the words on the screen. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Well, thank you, Elise. I find it interesting that someone who plays a flute is a flautist. So I appreciate you flouting your flute. That's my word for the day. How about our children? Do we have some children back there? I think they're peeking through the door. A couple of them are going to come up here and share with us.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I said, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, this bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. Here on the corner of Lines and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, yeah. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Yes, today was our last of the series, Attitude of Gratitude. And I think we had a lot of fun. You guys want to talk about it?
Okay.
We made a chain of gratitude out of dynamos. When we top it, we just say attitude of gratitude. And there's a special quote, and gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more, by Melody Beatty.
And would you like to say something? No. Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, kids. Go and find your parents. And Nancy, I think next week we enter the World Religious. All right. That's right. Next week, a Buddhist nun is going to be here speaking to you, as well as another one. That's two, nun and two, going to speak with the children. And the following week, someone from the Jewish Center here in Fort Collins will be speaking with us. And the third week is about earth religions. So, yes, for the kids. So that's our program, and we trust that you'll want to be here for that. So, without any further announcements, let's all just circle up and join hands with one another. Okay, the words are on the screen. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.